Hey guys, it's Cam and welcome back to Classic Adventures. I know it has been some time since we put out a video, which was our very first video. Finally hit 200 views, so that's cool. We have not had time to go to any haunted, abandoned, do any kind of explorations because of COVID, but also for me, my job got shot down 3 different times, and it happened again after that video was posted. So it has been difficult, and even now that things are going back to normal, it's been more difficult because we are short-staffed at our jobs, and it's hard for us to have free time to go and do something. But this past weekend, me and Jordy went up to Newcastle because we had this cool opportunity, and you know, we did something crazy. Jordy is not here for the video right now because we forgot to film this over the weekend, so good job on our part. But we had an amazing experience this weekend. We got to investigate at Hillview Manor, and when I tell you, like, it was one of the best experiences of my life, and it definitely taught me something. Like, it proved to me that this isn't just something that I watch on TV, something that I'm like big into. Like, it's a whole different thing when you're there and you're doing it. It's a little overwhelming because the place is massive. I'm sure you've probably seen what this place is. It was an old farmhouse, then it was a nursing residence. It had a few different faces to it, as we should say. And yeah, so it first opened in 1926, so it is going on 100 years. For me, it was so surreal because I typically see this location on TV shows. I see people on YouTube investigating it. So to actually pull up and step foot in there was just insane to me. I'm very thankful for the experience because it proved to me that this is something that I want to do. Like, I have such a connection with it, and it just brings out a side of happiness because it's just, I always felt this connection with things, and to be able to put that to use and to communicate with the other side and everything, it's crazy to be able to walk the halls of where they walked, where they lived, where they did their daily things. You know, even though things weren't always good, it's crazy. And that's why I say it's such a crazy thing that we did, because I never pictured myself going and doing something like this. I always wanted to, and I never thought the day was gonna come. We were originally supposed to go last year for my birthday, but COVID shut that down. So we waited 2 years for this event. And I'm not going to give you details of the event because, you know, if somebody wants to participate with this team that we were with, I don't want to tell them how things go, because if it's going to be your first time with these people, that's your thing to experience, and I don't want to tell you what you're going to experience. I actually met these people at my job, and that's how I found out about them. And since then, I've kept like a very close eye on places that they go and the events that they hold and stuff, and this was just the first one since last year that I was actually able to make. So me and Jordy, who you saw in the first video, we went together. We made a weekend out of it, and it was nuts. Like, during the initial like guided time, we had 8 hours in there, so during the first 4 hours was guided time, and we did so many different things during that, and we had so much cool evidence coming in. but then we got to do our own investigating, and I think that was the coolest part of it. I think it was awesome. It was awesome. You know, for a little bit, like, it was dead, nothing was happening, and that's the thing with like paranormal activity. You can't expect that you're going to get something all the time. You can't go in there with these high expectations and be like, well, this, and that is gonna happen, because it's not. But yeah, I mean, we had some moments where it was dead, but it didn't stop us from doing anything. Like, we kept going. We kept doing EVP sessions and obviously listening back to them, taking pictures, taking video, using the K2 meter, the spirit box, just everything that we could, and we weren't getting much. And it was honestly getting, like, not upsetting, but like kind of like, not to say giving your hopes up, but it just felt like we weren't in the group of things anymore. Oh, right. Sorry for the cut there. Battery decided that it wanted to die. But back into what we were going on about. So, we weren't getting much of anything when it came to evidence. And we went through a few different places when that was happening. We were getting some good evidence in the chapel. But we tried Jeffrey's room, and we weren't getting anything. We tried Mary's room, we didn't get anything. We went into a room where a woman that actually works in the building told us used to be the tuberculosis ward, and where they said they were getting some really good evidence. And tried there, and we didn't get anything but what sounded like a woman laughing. So, I mean, we're getting some K2 spikes in there that were kind of like, we were asking like yes or no questions. So like, if this is Mary, can you make it light up? Like, stuff like that. So we had a little activity about that. But one thing that I really liked is when we were in the chapel, every time we were in the chapel, we had experiences. Now Jordy, she's a phlebotomist, and this is going to play into part with some of the evidence that we got. So when we first went in there to talk with them about everything, and this was with every single person that was there, you met up in the chapel. And when they were talking to us, Jordy said it felt like somebody brushed up against her cheek. Obviously, in this building, there's not air conditioning. It didn't have windows open. Like, I'm telling you, it was 90 degrees this day, so it was scorching hot in the building. It's about 7:30 at night. So like, nothing's going on. Like, it was so hot. The air was so still. It was so overwhelmingly hot. Like, there was nothing that would have done that. And we went back a second time during our guided time. And I'll just say guided time is when you're learning about areas in the building and trying to communicate. So while that's going on, we're in there, and I just have my camera in my hand for like taking pictures. And I wasn't taking pictures at the time because we were working with dowsing rods, and Jordy had the K2 meter in her hand, and there were a few other people in the room that had their own K2 meters, so everyone's, you know, trying to see if they can get anything. And she has it set in the chair beside her, and no one's in that chair. She just has the K2 meter sitting on the chair, and it started to light up red, like, so it went all the way. And she was just like, if that's you, can you know, come sit down next to me, make this light up? And excuse me, it took a few seconds, but it lit back up. So she thanked them for coming over and sitting down. And on someone's Ovilus, they got the word scared and the word needles. that's when I was piecing together the phlebotomist kind of thing. So I just thought, you know, since she has that kind of background with her job, that maybe, just maybe, it was like a resident that lived there before was acting like she was a nurse, you know, was saying that they were scared of needles, you know, maybe they had shots done there, something like that. So that's what I was piecing together. But then we came back one last time during like our final walkthrough, and we were the only two in there, and we tried doing a spirit box and nothing was coming through. I was trying the K2 meter, nothing was coming through, and I was just saying, you know, maybe we should head down to the basement and see if we can get anything down there. And we were just chilling in there waiting to see if anything would happen. Like, I turned the spirit box off because nothing was coming through. I tried an EVP session, nothing was coming through. But right before we were about to leave, she sets the K2 meter down on the chair, and we're just sitting there talking, and I go to turn my head and she's watching the K2 meter and it's flat on the chair. So when I say it's flat on the chair, she has it laying just like this on the chair. Now, she said that it started to rock as if it was going to fall off the chair. So I pull out my camera and I start recording just in case anything happens. You know, I'm just like, if that was you that moved this, you know, can you please try to use your energy to push this off the chair? And it didn't happen. I tried offering our energy. You know, if you need the energy to do it, you can take our energy and show us that you're here by pushing that off. But I probably recorded about a 2-minute long video where the K2 meter was just going off. If it wasn't just going off, it was going off as if it was answering our questions. And then out of nowhere, it just stopped. And it was pretty late, and obviously, I think it might have been going on 1 o'clock, and obviously it would be past when they would have all of the residents in bed. So I don't think anybody would really be down there at that time. So I think whoever we were speaking to, like, was going back to their space. We weren't able to figure out a name or anything, but I just thought it was cool because I was not able to make any connections in the chapel. Every connection that happened in there happened to her. And I just thought it was really cool that somebody was connecting with her so well. After that, we went to the basement. And the basement, let me tell you, is terrifying. Especially when it's just you and your friend. And you're going down there. It is pitch black. And I'm telling you, the doors, when you get down there, they're soundproof. You can't hear anyone upstairs. You can't even hear somebody walking upstairs. Right outside the door is 2 flights of stairs that you obviously walk up and down to get to. And at the top of those stairs is another door. So literally the sound from the basement is completely blocked away from the first floor and vice versa. It's crazy. I literally looked at her. I said, there is no way that I can ever be afraid of my parents' basement again. I still will be. But after doing that, because you go down there, the hall is so long and there are so many doorways. There's so many rooms. They have storage room, they have the main basement, they have the broiler room, which is known as George's area, where all his like Steeler memorabilia is. And it was terrifying. We sat down in the middle of the storage room, and there's 2 doors on each end of the room, and the only light that you have down there is in the hall are the exit signs, and they are bright red, so the whole hallway is illuminated red. And when I say that, like, I'll show you a picture real quick. It gives me like very much Insidious vibes. And if you can see that, you see how red that is? That was on the first floor, I would like to say. I'm pretty sure this was on the first floor right before we got near the nurse's station. But yeah, it's so red. So that's what lights up all the hallways there. And we went down into the basement to go investigate. So we're set up in the storage room. She's sitting on a chair, I'm sitting on the floor. I have my camera out, and I was so freaked out. Like, the basement terrified me when you're not with other people. Like, when we were with the group, it was fine, but when it's just us and anything can happen in this big basement where nobody can hear you, it's a scary thought. So I forgot to even use my camera. I was not even focused on taking pictures, taking any video. Like, I was scared. But we did an EVP session. It was probably like 4 minutes long, and we didn't get anything. But the one thing that was weird was after we did the EVP session, we were sitting there just in silence, and it sounded like somebody was coming down the stairs. So we shined our flashlights to look out the door. Nobody was coming. Nobody was coming. Nobody. Now, it didn't just sound like walking. It sounded like somebody was literally, like, running up and down the stairs. And we kind of just looked at each other. We're like, yeah, we're good. We don't need to come back down here. So that happened. But then we went up to the 3rd floor, and we were talking to some people, and one of the things they say is that on the 2nd floor there is a guy there named Angelo who committed suicide. But you don't bring that up to him because he's very sensitive about it. So they say that when all activity tends to die down in the building, it's usually because somebody mentioned the word suicide when trying to communicate with him. And, you know, you can try and ask him what happened and stuff, like, build up to it. Like, try and have a conversation. You would never just go up to someone and be like, hey, what happened? So it's just trying to have the same respect. And honestly, activity was dead for maybe like an hour to an hour and a half. But we weren't letting it stop us. So we waited till everybody got off the floor that we were on. And at this point, it's after 1 in the morning. Most people have left by now. So we're like one of the very few people that are left in the building. And the lights that are in the staircases, I believe they were motion detected because after some time they would turn off. So we were sitting up there, and then we were with these 2 other girls that were in our group from the guided part earlier. And we sat there in the dark with just the red lights illuminating things. And it just felt like nothing was there. And then out of nowhere, so much crazy stuff happened. And this is the part that I will never get over because I've never experienced anything like this, but it was insane. So we're sitting there, and we were at this part earlier. We were getting lots of evidence, like to the point where we couldn't even listen to our full EVP session because so much stuff was going on in the EVP session and around us. It was nuts. So we're up there, and we made sure that the window in John's room was closed. John, the story with him is that he jumped out the window in his room and eventually died at the hospital from his injuries. But people have gotten on like their EVP sessions and stuff that he was pushed. So we tried to communicate with him, and we weren't getting anything in there. But we closed the window, even though that it was so hot, there was no breeze outside, just so we knew nothing was contaminating any of the evidence. Because there is a curtain in the room that would divide like the space. And then a guy came up and he found a balloon, and he put it up on the counter at the nurse's station. And we were using that, so like if something happened, if we felt a breeze or anything, we would look for the balloon to see if it's moving. So we're out here, and we're just standing around the nurse's station, and we hear a bang. And you look back into John's room, and the curtain literally swung out. The window's closed. There's no AC in this place. There's nothing that could cause it. The only people was us four, and we were all together, so none of us did anything. But it was weird because like when it happened, Jordy's here on one side of the doorway sitting, and then another girl's on the other side, and they said that they felt a breeze coming out of there. So we look forward to the counter, which is right in front of them. The balloon is not budging at all. It's like just staying still. So I was like, okay, something's clearly happening. Like, we asked for activity and things are starting to slowly pick up. And there are two guys there named Jimmy and Lester, and we thought that we were now in contact with them based on how things were going. They're pranksters, they like to joke around. So we started hearing all of these noises, and down the hall was Jimmy's room, and then right behind us is John's room. Right across from John's room is the nurse's station. So we just have views of everything. We have views of literally all three halls, all the main doors, everything. And we're sitting there, and we started hearing noises every direction. So it's like, okay guys, are you playing hide and seek with us? You know, like, keep up the noises. We'll try and figure out where you are. So you get a noise from John's room. You get a noise from down the hall from Jimmy's room. You get a noise coming from around the corner from Jimmy's room. You get a sound from behind. You get a sound from down the hall past the nurse's station, from behind the nurse's station. Like, for 5 minutes, it was just going everywhere. And it's crazy because we sat up there for at least 30 minutes before this happened, and nothing like this was happening. So it was just mind-blowing. We were getting all these names and all these words on the obulus, and it was nuts because we're sitting there in the dark. We won't turn our flashlights on. I snapped a couple pictures. I was running some EVP recordings just to see if we could pick anything up, and it got insane. We're sitting there. I'm sitting facing the nurse's station. Jordy is still sitting next to John's room, which has a complete view down the hall past the nurse's station. We were told that if there was ever a place that you wanted to see a shadow figure, it would be here. It's not guaranteed that you'll see one, but this is one of the most popular places to see one. And oh my god. Excuse me. So here goes nothing, right? We're sitting there in silence, you know, the noise has stopped. Things were calming down literally just in the slightest. And then Jordy not wanting to freak me out. But there's a doorway literally not even 5 feet from me. And she just goes, oh my god. And I'm like, what? Because we're in the dark. Like, we're only lit up by this little bit of light. And we were up there so much, it's like your eyes can't play tricks on you at this point. Like, you've literally been sitting in the dark for almost an hour at this point with no lights. Like, you're just chilling, waiting for something to happen. You're not provoking. You're not sitting there and asking. You're just letting them do their thing and just hoping that you're there to see something. And man, did we see something. I've never experienced anything like this, and this is why I keep saying it's so crazy. So all the way down the hall, there's multiple doors, but it had to be the door next to me. It had to be the door next to me. Things started changing so fast. The door next to me, Jordy said she thought she saw a little kid shadow. So a short shadow, like what, like 2 feet? Go into the doorway next to me. And I was just sitting there. I had my flashlight in my hand. I'm like, do I dare turn this on? Or do I leave it off? Because I don't want to sit here and run away from something if it's happening. Because you sit here and you wait for evidence. I don't want to run away from it. And I kept my flashlight off by the grace of God. I was terrified. I literally, once she said that, I felt a little scared. That was the most scared that I felt all night. So I decide, you know, I turn in my chair and I'm just watching down the hall. Like, I'm scanning every doorway. We're just sitting there and waiting to see if we see something again, just by chance. Maybe like not even 2 minutes pass, and I'm looking at the doorway that's next to me where she said she saw the kid's shadow. And they have reports of seeing people, well, not seeing shadows, like poke a head out, arms sticking out or waving or something. I cannot make this up. I was sitting there and I'm looking around at all the rooms, and I look over at the door next to me, and I'm running the EVP recorder, and I see what looks like a head poke out looking at us. Now this room right here that I'm talking about was a room where the residents would be at. There would be at least 2 people in this room. It's late at night, you never know, like what if they think, that's what I was telling the owner of the group that we were with, that we're 4 women. What if they thought that we were nurses? Like what if they needed medicine or something was wrong and they were poking their head out to see if someone was there to help them? Or what if it's Jimmy and Lester and they're playing pranks and they're just peeking their head out to make sure no one's out here that's gonna have them get caught and be in trouble for not being in their rooms because it's so late. And this is when things amplified. After that, I did feel a little scared. So I got up from my chair and I told them what I saw. So then we started walking around and checking things out. But then a few minutes passes and I sit back down in the chair. I'm running an EVP record, like a session again. We have our lights off and Jordy turns her flashlight on and she shines it down the hall. And at the end of the hall, there's 2 rooms. They're literally boom, boom. Like they have this little bit of a wall split between them. On the left-hand side, sitting there, since she turned her flashlight on, I turned mine on. I looked down this hall and then I looked down the hall that she's looking at. We're both shining our flashlight on the same room. And all of a sudden, you just see an arm with, you can see a hand and the fingers like clear as day. She wasn't looking when I saw this. Excuse me. And I literally told everyone, I was like, oh my god, oh my god. I was like, I just saw an arm move out and in, out and in. And I was like, I have never seen something like that before. And in that very moment, I didn't feel like myself anymore. I felt way more sensitive to what was going on. And I have never felt anything like this before. Like it didn't feel like I was feeling my emotions or feelings anymore. In that second, it's like the scaredness that I had from when I first saw the shadow, because like it threw me off. I wasn't expecting it at all. But it was also so cool. So like as much as it like scared me at first to see it, I was so blown away at the fact that I did see it. And the only way that I can explain it, and I said this to them, and I felt like I kept saying it over and over, I was like, I do not feel like myself right now. Like I can vocalize to you my thoughts, but I don't feel like I'm feeling my own emotions. I don't feel like I'm representing myself. And Jordy told me that during this time, like it seemed like my personality changed just like that. I'm sitting there, and after I saw that arm, I had a feeling of terror, as if I wasn't supposed to see this, as if I wasn't supposed to be near who this was. Like I felt very scared, like I didn't know where to go, and it was so confusing because I wanted to go and figure out what it was, but whatever I was feeling was holding me back. Like I felt so terrified that I couldn't move. I was literally backing away, like up against the wall, and it felt like I had my normal heartbeat going, and out of nowhere my chest is just pounding like this fast, and I was like, what's going on? Like this doesn't feel like anything that I'm used to. And just as I said that, it stopped. and it was back to my normal heart rate, and I just felt like myself again. And it happened 2 different times. But that happened 2 different times, and it was wild. Like, after that, we went downstairs back to the first floor because we were talking about all going down to the basement together. But it was literally like a switch flipped, and I don't know what happened, but that was just like it. As we were walking towards the basement, there's like a corridor where these doors are, and as soon as you got through those doors to get to the second end of the hall where the basement stairs are, it felt so overwhelmingly dark. Like, the way it felt then was not the way it felt when we first went down there. We got to the top of the steps, and I had everyone stop. I said, maybe we're in luck. It sounds like there's a guy down there, because we wanted somebody else to be with us, because in that moment we just did not feel safe. And I peeked my head around, and I'm shining my flashlight, and we're listening, and we didn't hear anyone. Like, we couldn't hear anybody talking anymore. And I was so confused. But it was like the second I turned my back from that and we tried to walk down the hall, it felt like somebody was staring down your back. Like, it just did not feel the way it felt the whole entire night. Something just feel like it switched, and it became so heavy. We didn't even want to walk back down to the first floor nurse's station. At that point, we just said, it's better if we call it a night. So we called it a night, and that was that. I mean, we did some more stuff, but not like investigation wise. But it was crazy. That's why I keep saying we did something crazy, because I've never gone through something like this before, and it was insane. But I am grateful that I did it. It was an experience that I would never take back. And honestly, this whole weekend we could not stop talking about everything. It was great. And I tell you what, I'm definitely going to be going back again. Excuse me. I would love to communicate more, make a bigger and better connection, and I just want to experience more. It was so amazing. The place was huge. There was so much to do in such a short amount of time, and we hit as much as we could. But I'm never gonna forget it. It was so cool, and I was so happy to be a part of it. I'm happy that I experienced the things that I did, whether good or bad. Like, that was our first big investigation, and it was amazing. I wouldn't take it back for the world, and I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to do it. But we're definitely gonna go back. So I hope you guys enjoyed story time. I know it was kind of long, but it was a great time, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. I do wish Jordy was here to make the video with me, but things happen. We were enjoying our weekend and just forgot to do it. But I wanted to make something for you guys. We still exist. We're still here. But yeah, we'll see you in the next video, and hopefully that one is an exploration. Till then, bye.